Natalie Anderson is VP of Strategic Partnerships at Curator Solutions. I met her a long time ago. I won't share with exactly how long time ago that was, but when she was back doing really cool stuff with Pearson, and for as long as I've known her, she seems to be very focused on looking at the deep innovation or the important innovation happening in the higher ed and business learning community. I'll say, if that's a fair type of thing to say. Natalie, good to see you. Hanging out in Hershey, PA. Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good here. And Dave, you'll be happy to know, and your audience will too, that we're still making chocolate here in Hershey, and
Yes.
Reese's peanut butter cups as well. I can smell the roasted peanuts.
I got to make my grocery run and pick up some of that stuff. I just got a terrible craving with you talking about it. Natalie, one of the things I follow you on LinkedIn for, other than being your pal, is I really like the way you sort of point me in the direction of cool news stories that have to do with what's happening from an innovation, either whether it's technology or business model or whatever, primarily in higher ed and business learning and online learning and stuff like that. But not always. Some of it's cultural. Some of it's. But you seem to have a really good. I'm not going to insult you here, but you seem to be a really good, almost like bloodhound. You know what I mean? Where you sniff out these cool things, and you have really good sensor for pulling out the signal from the noise. There's a lot of noise out there. You pull out the signal. What does your spider sense, tell you about, the signal to noise ratio right now? What are you hearing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, in particular, am really focused on a couple things. One is higher education. That's my background. In terms of, I came out of traditional textbook publishing, believe it or not.
Hmm.
Back in the olden days, I started out as apprentice hall sales rep, knocking on professors' doors. And, I have a deep, abiding affection for higher education, and all the tentacles that it has into the, world of corporate learning, the world of K through 12 education. In higher ed itself right now, obviously there's a tremendous amount, there's just been a dramatic shift in the last 2 months. And I hear words like unprecedented all the time, but
Hmm.
it is unprecedented.
Hmm.
And, a lot of our approach to higher education, has been innovation that's been primarily just very incremental and
Hmm.
minor.
Hmm.
Um, and that's dramatically been thrown out the window.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of noise, and there's a tremendous number of signals coming through right now. And,
And people
this,
people are
but
just trying to figure all that out. And right now we have the impact of it's like the freight train just smashed into a wall. You know what I mean? Where all this stuff is being focused into these two-dimensional screen-like experiences, and the people who sort of had their ducks in a row with user experience and with customer service. What comes to mind for me now is things like Southern New Hampshire, people like that who even just recently just shattered all expectations with their tuition statement and whatnot. What are some of your observations there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there are some innovative institutions that everyone does pay close attention to. And Southern New Hampshire University, ASU, and ASU Online.
Hmm.
Those are a couple of good ones to look at. Lately, I've noticed there's something going on at Louisiana State, so I check out their news releases pretty frequently just to see.
Hmm.
Those are institutions that are signaling, and have in the past, we have a tolerance for risk and innovation,
Hmm.
right? Innovation means you have to be able to tolerate failure, and
Hmm.
that's not something that higher education has been structured for. To be fair to them, they've got multi-layered governance
Hmm.
issues, especially if they're a public institution,
Hmm.
and all kinds of extenuating factors.
Hmm.
And these are really complex institutions operating in complex systems. And I love your analogy. It is like a freight train smacking into the wall, And now we're in this sort of weird phase, I think, where everyone's like, what just happened? I feel a little stunned. I might have taken a blow to the head.
That's amazing. No, that really is truly amazing. Um, I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody, which is, Natalie, what lessons are we learning now, or have we learned over the course of this thing that we must not forget?
Yeah. I think for me every day it's a totally new adventure right now. I
Right,
feel like in a 24-hour period there are like 100 hours crammed in there worth of experience. For me, the big takeaway that jumps to mind is our humanity. What I love is that when I go on these video conference calls and phone conference calls now, I can hear people's lives coming into the calls and see them. I can see their kids and their dogs and their
right,
cats and their parents and their kitchen and
right.
their, you know, and I just think that we used to have this really artificial distinction between this is my professional life and
Mm-hmm,
this is the real me.
mm-hmm.
And I think that this period of time has given us permission to blend those all together and to come more fully into a sense of who we are
Sure.
as a total human being.
That's cool. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but there's a sleeping dog on the bed right behind me here. She's being a really good girl, so I don't want to get her pissed off. But anyway, thank you so much. It's so good to see you again, and hopefully at some point in the future we can perhaps loop back around and you can have pity on me once more for this kind of
Sure.
conversation. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Dave.